gang, gang. Hey, nothing but love and respect. You might have some cool fans, but mine are the best. We've been through it all, went to war when duty called. Never left a man behind, we move as one is super strong. I don't want followers, that implies I'm the leader. I'm not the captain, I just gave them something they can believe in. I hold the lamp in the darkness, but they're the light that I needed to see the road that we walk in between the angels and demons. And my fans have my back. Hate us if your feelings don't like facts. And my fans will fight back. Beat you with the keyboard you've been using to write back. I guess we need each other like both sides of the battery. We the army, we the homies, we the gang, we the cavalry. We're brothers and sisters, we hold it down like we gravity. Can't nobody break the bond that made us all family.
Me and my fans, we don't care what anybody say. Middle fingers to whoever in the way, man. Me and my fans, we gon' be together to the grave. It's the gang till forever and a day, man. Me and my fans, we don't even trip in the hate. We the all in our veins, man. Me and my fans,
We the hangover gang. Gang, 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 gang.
Oklahoma weather can dish out some of the worst punishment in the world. Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Tuttle. But now you can fight back by installing Class 4 impact-resistant shingles from Ferguson Roof Systems. These shingles can withstand large hail, heavy rain, and hurricane-force winds, all while keeping your home safe and dry. And the best part? This upgrade is completely free for many homeowners. So call today to start reaping the benefits these Class 4 shingles bring, including a discount on home insurance. Only at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
All right. Good evening. Meteorologist Tuttle back with you. I'm just loading up my own broadcast on my own phone. Took a minute. Too many buttons to push. Thanks for joining me. Hey, are we going to do this again? That's what you're here for, right? You want to find out if we've got more storms and if we've got more tornadoes. So hopefully not. So last night, obviously, we covered some good storms out in western Oklahoma. And then, of course, I finally had to go to bed because I couldn't stay up all night. And, of course, I go to bed. And then early this morning, there was some more tornado warnings. Trust me, man, I'm not happy about that. I'd love to be on here 24/7 and never sleep. Unfortunately, I'm getting old and I gotta sleep. But anyway, so I can show you what happened here in Oklahoma City here briefly. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna show you the forecast for tomorrow, see if we've got more tornadoes to deal with. So you come to the right place. Be sure and like and share this video as we speak. I'm gonna put the link on the broadcast here for tonight, just like I have been doing the last few nights. I just now posted it. It's the opt-in to get notified whenever I do go live. So if you're having trouble getting live notifications, you can click that link and I will send it to you directly. On there, make sure you hit the button that says Manage Messages. You're going to get a pop-up on your Facebook Messenger. Make sure you hit Manage Messages, and that will get you signed up for the next one. So it's a repetitive process. Each time you got to press that Manage Message button, and you'll be good to go. Okay, so with that work out of the way, by the way, thanks for you guys on YouTube checking in and chatting. Same thing with my homies on Facebook. Appreciate that. I'm not going to broadcast probably on Twitter for a while, and just try to save a little CPU utilization. Last night it was my computer was dogging. I built this thing from scratch 2014, like a gaming machine, because I needed a powerhouse, and 2014 is a long time for a powerhouse to run. And I'm running out of running room on this thing. I've got way too much stuff that gets cranking during a broadcast every weather. Okay, so let's take a look at what transpired last night. I'm going to give you a quick little QLCS tornado look at as to why it's difficult to forecast these things. So last night, I mentioned before I went to bed that we would have a likelihood of a couple of QLCS tornadoes embedded within the squall line as it made its way into the I-35 corridor, and then each hour after that it would weaken as it went farther into eastern Oklahoma. And it did so, but it didn't do so quietly. Still ended up a couple of tornado warnings with that. But here's a look at what happened out here in Mustang, in the western parts of Oklahoma City. So remember, you're going to be the warning forecaster. You're going to play along here, okay? You're going to say, okay, I'm going to issue a tornado warning when. Okay, well, you're the radar meteorologist and you're watching things. Reflectivity on the left, velocity data is on the right, and we're looking at 4:49 in the morning. And you're half asleep. You're on your second cup of coffee. You're pulling the midnight shift. And you're looking down here and you look at the line and you go, I don't see anything yet. All right, and then you're looking at 4:56 in the morning. Still don't see anything. You're kind of zooming on down the line. You're looking for little eddies that may end up producing a QLCS tornado. You might see a couple that catches your eye. This one up around Yukon, this one down here just west of Mustang. But other than that, there's nothing that says tornado imminent, right? And so you're just kind of keeping an eye on it. You're waiting for the algorithms to help you out and trip and say, hey, dummy, look at this. And we go to 4:59 in the morning. You're still looking up and down the line. You're checking it out. You're in the metro. You don't see anything. You see this one in Mustang starting to look a little suspicious. And you're going, out of here right along the highway, that might try to do something. And you do look at the velocity signature here, and you're starting to get a little couplet starting to form. But it's very, very weak. We're talking 10, 15 knots or something. And you're just like, not quite yet. We'll see what happens. Then next scan comes in, and you're like, okay, the rest of the line. I don't see anything. Looks good. I'm now in a Mustang, and I've got this little hook appendage here on the radar. And this is not a supercell-based tornado. This is just a QLCS. And you look and you say, wait a minute, I've got a really decent couplet here. Now, wind speeds are still very weak, 10 miles per hour inbound and 32 miles per hour outbound. Oh, you know what? This is it. And then you're going, ooh, am I going to pull the trigger? Because that's getting pretty close. QLCS tornado can spin up pretty fast. And then you're like, I'm going to wait one more scan. One more scan comes in. It already produced a tornado. And it's already moved through Mustang. And this is the tornado signature here on the right. At this point in time, you put your marker down, and you see that you've got a rotational velocity of at least 26 knots, 28 knots. You're looking at least an EF0 tornado. And you're going, well, dadgummit, right? So we've had a tornado coming through Mustang, and you're like, okay, I'm issuing the warning. So next scan comes in, the warning goes out. So now there's a tornado warning on the residual part of this circulation, and if you look, it's already starting to weaken in that scan that the warning came out on. The next scan goes over, 10:09, it's even weaker. But there's still that little hook echo. So you keep the warning going, and then you basically just track it from here on out all across Oklahoma City metro area, hoping that it doesn't touch down again. And those QLCS tornadoes, sometimes they can touch down a couple of times before they completely diminish. And you track it all the way through Oklahoma City. You keep the tornado warnings going on. It still has a hook echo appearance, but the velocity couplet is never there. It never comes back. So what happened? So the point being is QLCS tornadoes are very difficult to predict and warn for in real time. So that has been a nightmare for meteorologists when it comes time to issuing tornado warnings, because the system isn't really built for these, and they happen so fast. But if you live in Mustang, you do know, hey, we did have a tornado here, and yes, the radar data shows it. Now, this is looking at the Weather Service data from the NextRad. We do have the terminal Doppler weather radar, which is a little closer to this event, and it actually showed the tornado a little better. So you can use a different radar system to try to catch these little QLCS tornadoes a little bit better, because the beam width is smaller, so you get a little bit better resolution, a little more fine-tuned, so you can see smaller particles better in the overall picture of things of the rainfall. And that would help to pick out these QLCS tornadoes better. So that's kind of how that works. So if you do have my weather app, for example, and you live along this line right here, you would have gotten a twisting storm alert probably about the time it had decent rotation with it, which unfortunately sometimes the decent rotation doesn't happen until the tornado actually forms and touches down, because these aren't traditional tornadoes. Are a completely different process, and so sometimes you'd get very little warning, even with like my app, for example. But you would have gotten a warning if you lived in this little path here. But if you did live like down here, you would have gotten a warning. If you lived up here, you wouldn't have gotten for a twisting storm alert. It's, again, you're in the immediate path. So that's kind of the difference on how my twisting storm alert app works. And then you'll get the eventual tornado warning if you live in this red box. So if you live in this part of town, you may hear sirens, but you wouldn't get a warning on the app because you don't live in the red box. It's the polygon. Same thing here, just north and west. So you have to live within the polygon to get the official tornado warning from the National Weather Service, and you have to be in the immediate path to get the warning from my app called the Twisting Storm Alert with the BTI number from 0 through 10. So that's kind of a quick look of how kind of the app works. It's called AT's Weather to Go, and also how QLCS tornadoes can quickly develop, not last more than a couple of minutes, as we just saw on the radar scan, and they're over that fast, and they can dip down and do quick EF0, EF1 damage in little places, and then system's over. So are we going to have more of these? Let's take a look. First off, here's a look at the potential for tonight. We do have a flash flood risk in southeast Oklahoma, Ardmore to Ada to Durant, and then that extends into the body of eastern and southeastern Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas. 2 to 4 inches of rain possible. So there could be some potential flash flooding situations with that. Now that is for tonight into Thursday. Now, Thursday morning primarily. Now what happens Thursday afternoon and evening? Well, this is the Storm Prediction Center, and if you notice, there is not a slight risk here in Oklahoma. You're like, woohoo, we are finally scot-free, right? Not so fast. I think this will change, and I think they'll end up drawing a risk. The analog guidance for this particular storm system, if you look historically at kind of how it shapes up, we do have at least a 50% probability or greater for at least one severe weather report here across a good chunk of Oklahoma. If you were to do 5 reports of severe weather, you still got kind of a higher probability of 30 to 40%. So I still do expect some severe weather tomorrow based off the overall pattern and how it looks. Now here's a detailed how the radar animation should work. Oh, and also let me show you, I'm going to show you this first. Okay, you know what? Let me do this first. I'm going to do 2 things. We'll have a lot less maps tonight. We're going to be really short, just so you know. I'm almost done. You're like, what? Yeah, I really am. All right, so here's a look at the dew point value. So I want to show you how the moisture surges back into Oklahoma. All these blue shadings here is rich, deep moisture coming back into the state. And we're starting to get an area of low pressure develop up here along the cold fronts. We are expecting a cold front to come in. We're also going to see an area of low pressure develop into southwest Oklahoma, and that'll be the trigger for more storms. So this is, let's see, let's go to 9 o'clock. Let's go 8 o'clock. So 8 o'clock here, we'll get an area of low pressure here, and we've got a new one that was forming in this region that's kind of starting to dive more south to this region. In either event, it continues to kind of pull more of an easterly surface wind, and it's also pulling in more moisture kind of on a theta E axis. Now, the difference for tomorrow, one of the key differences is the surface wind should be a lot weaker. Here they're about 5 to 10 knots. That will come in your favor when you're talking about tornadic development. So keep that in mind as one of the ingredients to focus on. Meanwhile, the frontal position should clear by Friday morning. There's 6 a.m. It's already through Oklahoma City Metro and Tulsa and quickly moving out of the state. So that's when the front will move through. It will be overnight on Thursday. Now, with that increase in moisture, we do have a significant tornado parameter to talk about like we have in the past. And if you notice in those past maps, it was off the charts. Well, this time around, not so much. We're looking at about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. See the purple there? 8 o'clock, 9, 10. So you see some blue and some green on the map. This is a kind of a mid-scale number from 3 to 4 in this area. And you can see how it's kind of primarily focused down here across southern Oklahoma, just barely kind of nudges in the greater Oklahoma City metro area, and then back down here into parts of North Texas. So this is the most unstable, most favorable shear profile to try to get a tornado for tomorrow evening. So how does it look? Let's take a check here. Go back to the radar map, and we'll put the timeline on here for you. And we'll see how things evolve. So again, tonight, heavy rainfall still in southeast Oklahoma. So this is good. You know, this is all drought quenching, and it's good for the land. So sometimes you get a little too much, but that's the way it is. There's 1 o'clock in the morning. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That kind of clears things out. All right. So during the day tomorrow, a few lingering showers in southeast Oklahoma. Otherwise, dry elsewhere. And then 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. This is like the repeat last few days. That's just because the energy in the upper levels is still coming in a little late. Instead of coming in the mid-afternoon, it's coming in by the evening hours. So that's what helps to kick these storms off a little later. But you can see they get going once again in southwest Oklahoma. So you do live down there, kind of keep an eye on the sky after 8 o'clock. Meanwhile, they will be moving to the north and east. And there are some helicity tracks on here. So we are expecting the threat of probably a little bit of hail, a little bit of wind, and potential tornado. There's 10 o'clock Going through Lawton, there's 11 o'clock, 12. There will be some storms that develop back behind the front. These will actually roll behind their frontal boundary, so they will be either marginally severe or not severe. And if they're marginally, they'll have a little bit of hail with them. That's about it. It's the ones you have to watch that are south of the front and east of the little surface low. So down here, probably on the south side of Oklahoma City, maybe around the Norman area, Blanchard, that kind of thing. And then points south is probably the most favorable area down toward Lawton. For this cluster of storms that may try to develop. But you can see, though, it does produce a little bit of a helicity track here on the south end of the greater Oklahoma City metro area, so potential tornadic. Then they get into the 4 and 5 o'clock hour. They continue to roll through eastern Oklahoma, lose a lot of their intensity and strength, by the way. Tulsa getting a little bit of rain by early Friday morning. Of course, the front's pushing through the state by this time. The severe weather threat overnight isn't anything like it was the last few nights. It won't continue or linger. It's kind of more of in a short window. It looks like it's roughly from 8 p.m. to about midnight. If we go back, let me go back to midnight here. Let's see, there's midnight there. Okay, I lied. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4. Okay, I really did lie. 5 a.m. Now it starts to weaken. So I looked at so many maps and my brain forgot what timing. But there's 5 a.m. So now it starts to weaken, and then that stuff moves in quickly into eastern Oklahoma. So we do have a little bit of a window for some severe weather again overnight tomorrow. Hopefully it won't be as severe. The overall parameters, let me show you the forecast sounding about this time, and we'll see what it looks like. Compared to nights past, not as great of an issue. In other words, the weakness here in the wind field to surface at the first, oh good grief, maybe 300 meters is about a southeast wind of 10 knots. So very weak low-level winds, but the overall shear is still nice photograph, nice structure, so it will be potentially supercellular, in other words rotating. Capes are still pretty decent, around 1200, not much of a cap, believe it or not, so the lid is not built in, at least for that short period. It does have a weak tornado potential development within that, so it'll be something we'll have to watch. And tomorrow's data should shed a little bit more light on this as to whether or not this potential here vaporizes and becomes a bit more stable. But for right now, the way I see it, you're going to have to at least assume that is a potential. Heavy rainfall for tonight across eastern Oklahoma, like we mentioned, into tomorrow morning. Little yellow areas indicate as much as 4 inches in pockets. Even through McAllister. This little stretch right here, this is that supercell tornado that the model likes to go through from southwest Oklahoma into about the Norman region, producing some rain up to about 2.5 inches. Could be a little hail in there, could be a little wind, and yeah, potentially a tornado as that rolls through into south central Oklahoma in the overnight period. Finally, your temperatures. About the 70s, where we're going to head to as far as daytime highs after we get past the chilly Friday, thanks to that front. Saturday also pretty chilly, 68. Look at that low Saturday morning, 41 degrees here in Oklahoma City. Other parts of the state very similar on the temperature profile, 40s at night coming up, and then a few 50s. Otherwise, lots of 70s out there and some 60s, upper 60s for daytime highs. So the weather gets a lot better and more representative of what typically happens around here in October. So that's what I've got for you. I hope that was helpful. Hope you enjoyed the little tutorial on what a QLCS tornado, how it can quickly form, why they're hard to warn for, sometimes why you don't get a warning, or at least you don't get one until after the fact. They're very difficult. And then you've got the look for tomorrow right now. So you can bet on a cold front coming in. You can bet on some rain, severe weather. I imagine there'll be at least a few severe reports. And then the tornado threat depends a lot on the strength of those very low-level winds. That can help to offset a tornado, but it can also, the movement of the storm, let's say, for example, you've got a southeast wind at 10 miles per hour. If the storm is moving in the right direction, which it should be, to the east component, you can almost double the inflow of that wind to give it more representative, so it's more of a storm relative inflow. In that case, it may help to keep that tornado threat going. So that's something we'll have to watch for tomorrow evening, so I'll do that for you, and I will be covering those live again if need be. Now, if the winds are really pathetic and the storms are good rotators, but they're like mid-level, they're not low-level, I probably won't cover those, but I'll keep an eye on things for you. And that's pretty much all I got here for you for tonight. So appreciate your love, support, your sharing, all that kind of stuff through this severe weather week. We've got a lot of newbies here, so welcome. You came to the right place. I get a lot of the comments that are It's hard to believe you can actually talk about tornadoes and be very calm and laid back and relaxed. And yeah, you can do it. I do it all the time. So that's my job. So hopefully that helps out and it translates over to you and your family and the kids. And that way everybody can just calm down and we can all check it out together on a more of a science approach versus just a circus approach. That's it. You guys have a great night. Again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.